Welcome back, everyone. This is installment number 2 of the Necky. It's the Necky. Oh gosh, I'm mixing my brand names. The Elna Lock Pro 5, otherwise known as the Elna L5D, like door. You are looking at, in addition to the various parts that you saw me take off of the Elna, along with a washer that is still looking for a home. I don't yet know what it goes to, but hopefully we'll learn. It is now time to experiment to see if I can remove the bottom of this serger. Let's get this camera in place so it doesn't wiggle on you guys. So you'll remember that when I turned this upside down, I was holding it in the last video, I saw, well actually you will see any number of screws. Now, just as with when you're looking at vintage sewing machines, not necessarily a serger, you want to study exactly what it is you're trying to remove. What should you remove and what should you not remove? We have screws that attach the feet. The feet, in this case, are simply attached to the base. We don't need to remove the feet, and that won't help us with our goal of looking underneath the machine. What does that leave me with? I've got 2 screws here, but of course these are attached. I believe these are part of the system that holds our little cover door on the front, open or shut. So I'm not going to touch these. Now I went and looking at, there appear to be, if I peer way down inside the machine, it looks as if there are cylindrical shaped places where these screws might go. I can't get a flashlight down there, and honestly, I'm not entirely sure that that theory is correct. However, I see these 3 large screws. Now, sometimes on a sewing machine, it could be a Japanese-made machine from the 70s, or even one of your European machines like Pfaff's and Bernina's. You have to be extra careful because sometimes part of the drivetrain is mounted to the bottom of the sewing machine, and you can disassemble things you were not intending to. But I noticed that this panel is plastic, the base, and what that suggests to me is that hopefully the drivetrain of this serger is not attached to it, because that would not be the most solid. Normally you want your mechanical components, in this case those that are steel, many of these are, you want to attach them to other parts of steel because it could stress the plastic. So here's my theory, guys. It's just a theory that this is basically a base pan that attaches to the chassis, the bottom of the chassis of the machine, basically to catch stuff. And to have the feet, you need something to attach the feet to. So here goes nothing. We'll see what happens. I've got a larger Phillips because these screws are a different size, and I suspect they're larger because they're holding more of the weight. I don't know. Now, if this screw had not moved for me, then I would definitely have used some penetrant or even some heat and sewing machine oil, but it didn't. Let's see, oh, wait a minute. I just realized something. There's a 4th screw here. Well, how about that? All right, then we'll have 4 screws. Now, look here, guys. This may be a useful thing to note. I'm literally just noticing this. Let me zoom in and I'll show you, okay? This is the hand wheel side of the chassis. This is metal. Again, I don't know what kind of metal, but it's not plastic. Right here. And then here, this screw attaches this piece, which is plastic. Now, if you look, I can't tell if this is a mold. Sometimes mold flashing will get dirty and it will look like a crack. This is either mold flashing or it's a crack in the plastic. Now, if it is a crack in the plastic, we might be able to work with it, but we want to be extra careful. And I'm referring to right here. And again, it's not surprising, right, that it might be a crack, but the screw itself is what's holding the base to the chassis of the machine. So let's just see. In fact, to make this a little simpler, I'm going to use my little screwdriver tip set. Comes with a little ratchet. So I'm going to take this handle off and make sure we got it on the out position. And I'm going to turn it this way. Maybe I'll get a little bit more grip on it. Now I got to hold this thing still. I can't have the machine go wandering around. Well, this screw is a little stripped. it looks like it's come off before. Maybe this machine has had service. Now I've got to be extra careful because if I strip it more, that's not great. So I'm going to have to approach this one with a little extra care. I am now, well, I'm not sure. Let's see. I think it's, oh, wait a minute. There it is. It's loose. I thought it was stripped. Okay. Well, that's good news. Stripped screws are never fun. They can be removed, but it's almost an entirely different project. Okay. Now, it may, I don't know how long this screw is. Let's see. Okay, she came right out. Now, just as I do with vintage sewing machines, when I go to put these things back together, I'm probably going to take 1 drop of sewing machine oil. I'll just put it at the top here. The top, you don't need to coat the whole thing. Just put a drop here, and as you thread the screw or the bolt back in, it will spread that oil on the threads and just make it easier for the future. And it may be you in the future that needs to disassemble it again. So keep that in mind. Now, I don't know. I've discovered some sewing machines have different size or different length screws. I think these are probably all the same size, but are they the same length? I don't know. So I'm going to put them in an order right here on my printer paper there. And I'm just basically going to, that's the upper right. I have 4, right? And I'll just do that in case. That could be a total waste of time, but it's nice to at least, you don't want to find out after the fact, okay? That Kenmore zigzagger from the 70s I've been trying to save, it has screws that hold the pan to the chassis of the machine, and they are different lengths depending on where they fall. So, you know, it just make this little bit of time that you spend taking extra care could save you a lot more time. Again, if you know, when I've worked on machines before, okay, be careful where I touch this. I generally know, you know, if you restore enough machines, particularly the same models, same generation of model, what you'll find is you basically learn what size screws are where because they're the same. But this is totally new to me. Now, I don't know if anything's holding on to this, so I'm going to gently pull back. Okay, just gently. So far, nothing's resisting me. Now, let me move the tripod back. Okay, I'm pulling back. Make sure nothing gets hung up, which could easily happen here. Now, well, there we go. Well, I'm very pleased because my guess, my assumption was correct. This is the chassis. Here you see all the metal, and you know, on the inside it's not very I just found another washer here, guys. Just like the one that I found on the front. Now, I wonder, I don't know if this is the case. I wonder if the washers, well, if the washers, I don't know why they would be on the inside. I wonder, I'm just guessing here. That doesn't look right. I'm not sure, but I just found another washer like the one I showed you guys in the first video, so not sure what it goes to. So I will hold on to it. Never discard anything like that. You never know. Here's what the inside of this thing looks like. It's plastic, it's fairly thick, and it has all these cross members. I think that's just to give it strength. But again, plastic gets brittle. It's not the toughest material when it's new, and as it ages, it becomes more delicate, right? So you want to treat it like the old plastic it is. I'm wondering, I'm going to just see this opening of this washer. I'm going to see, what do you guys think? Do you think it goes here? Could it possibly be a washer that goes, I mean, it seems to fit. I can't get it to stay there. It seems to fit right here, guys. What do you think? Do you think maybe that this is where it goes? And then I mean, the rest of them may be lost. I don't see any more here on these touch points. So unless another one fell out, this bottom may have been taken off before. And, you know, there are times when washers matter and when they don't. If a washer is used as a spacer between a bolt and the place it's securing, you can often, you know, make do or figure out a way to replace it. if a washer is used as a spacer on something like an electric motor, you need that washer. Okay, you can't guess with that type of stuff. So, okay, well, we'll see. I don't know. Not entirely sure. Here's another example. Any of these big bolt holes, that washer sits there. Now, maybe it allows the washer acts as a, let's zoom in here. I don't know if you guys can see that point. Maybe the washer is going to function as a kind of a barrier between the plastic and this, so that you don't, maybe if you get a little too crazy and you over torque that bolt, maybe that helps. I don't know. I'm grasping for ideas here. If you guys have an idea, let me know. But that's my latest theory on what these washers are. I've got two, and because normally if the washer was part of a mechanical mechanism, that mechanism would usually come loose or apart. So anyway, we'll keep this one along with the other one and see what happens with those. Now, I've got my tray. Zoom back out. I've got my tray. I'm going to set that back here. I've got a whole collection of parts back there. But now we are looking at the bottom side of the motor. As you guys may know from some of the other videos I've made or others that you've seen online, these electrical motors have brushes, and they have the brushes, the brush housings are normally juxtaposed from each other. So the other one is going to be, on the other side of this one, right? So this is good because I'm going to be checking the brushes to see if if they're going to need replacing. So let's take a look. Oh, where's my flashlight? We have a good light today, but see if this helps any. I don't know, that might actually make it worse. But make sure we're turning in the right direction. Now we can see what's going on with the Serger, at least for the drive shaft. Look at this, guys. Look at that. Look at all the movement that's going on here. People sometimes wonder, why do I have to oil my machine? With a lot of new machines, you don't have to oil them very much or very often because most of them don't have any steel in them. Now, they have to have some. I'm not aware of a plastic drive shaft that could survive in anything, but look here. Here's an example. This is not painted red, and this is not an area that the sewer would have been expected to lubricate. So I'm going to get my pointer here. Look at this piece, right? This piece right here, and watch it move as I turn the hand wheel. Watch it rise, okay? So there's like a sort of like a cam, if you will, right there. Let's see if I turn it this way, you might get a better view. So look right here and watch this and watch it rise. Maybe a little zoom in would also help here. Okay, I think, yeah, right here. Look at this piece. Watch as I turn the hand wheel. Watch it come up and come down, right? Look at all these pieces that are moving, and the engineers designed this in such a way that the wicks, which look like ropes, they're really felt ropes, I guess. Notice that they have the perfect length and slack so that they don't tear, right? They're moving along with the metal pieces. Now, let's take a look at this one specifically, because again, once it's fed, once all of these wicks are soaked in oil, okay, they can feed the machine's lubrication points so that you don't have to go in every hour or two to go back and do that. That would be a real pain. So let's see. Now I don't know if you guys can tell this, but on the side I took some of my felt pads here and I elevated the chassis of the machine because it's the metal of the machine that is sitting on these, come here, that is sitting on these red pads way underneath here, okay? I'm not resting it on here. This is plastic, and those hinges, it'll snap with that weight. So again, just think through before you start moving things around to protect them. Okay, but look at this one in particular. Let's see if I can get this thing a little lower for you guys. Looks like an earthquake's going on there. Okay, now take a look here. Right here is part of this wicking rope. You see how it's looped around this shaft? Watch as I turn. Notice that it moves with the machine, but it doesn't interfere, it doesn't snag. But as this turns, watch, that wig comes right up against the shaft and then comes out again. That's pretty pretty cool engineering because they were planning this wick would have oil, and so every time the machine turns, it gets a little splash, right? A little sip of oil, if you will, to keep everything lubricated. Now I know when I showed you guys the front, it looked like, oh God, that machine's filthy. Actually, for a Serger, I'm really not that concerned. I think it's pretty average. Some of you folks may have seen worse. If any of my viewers have seen the inside of Sergers, and I'm hoping some of you have, or even if you haven't, take a guess. Just take a guess. Look at this one here, guys. It's doing the same thing. As it moves, right, it's going to feed oil there. But look at all these moving parts, and you don't see red marks here because Elna used those red marks primarily for consumers, the owners, to do basic oiling on the front. But under here, I'm going to be coming in, and every place where I see metal moving against metal, I'm going to oil, and then of course I'm going to make sure that I soak. I don't want it pouring everywhere, obviously, but I want to soak this wick rope, if you will, and I'm going to soak that in oil. But before I do any of this, as I mentioned in the last video, if you had the courage to suffer through it, I am going to clean and vacuum this entire machine. I want to go in, I want all this dust out. I have really small attachments, and I think I'll try to turn the volume down so you guys don't have to listen to that vacuum, but I want you to see, and I'm going to come in here, I have to be extra careful, right? I don't want to disturb or harm any of this wicking because it's in good shape, right? It doesn't really have a tremendous amount of friction, a little bit, but it looks like it's designed for that. Really impressive. But what I want to do is get any dust that's on there. I don't know if it's necessary to completely remove every little piece of lint off of here. I'm surprised there isn't more sticking to the wick, honest to God. Most of it's just laying around. But I want to get that out of there. Any place where I see metal here, right? I want to make sure, see if she'll zoom. I want to make sure that I have any dust or lint out of here, because again, I've got metal turning against metal, and I don't want to create that awful mud that lint creates when it mixes with sewing machine oil. So there you go. We got the bottom off, and the world did not end. Again, I am seeing this. I can't tell by the color alone. I'm wondering if this is not aluminum in terms of its chassis. The steel is in the drivetrain, all the moving parts, but I wonder if the frame, maybe it's aluminum, guys, because like I say, my magnet doesn't adhere to it. And I mean, it could be something else, could be magnesium maybe. I know that the old white rotaries had magnesium on their, quote, portable machines. But anyway, there you go. The underside of the Elna Lock Pro 5. It just doesn't roll off my tongue yet, but hang in there with me, guys. We are going to explore more with this, and if you're interested, please feel free to subscribe to the channel, and it will let you know when a new video comes up. And again, I want to emphasize, I've never looked at the inside of a Serger. It's got a lot of moving parts, and the loopers kind of remind me of take-up arms, and there's a lot of stuff going on here. It's like a little symphonic orchestra, right? They're all supposed to play together to create those amazing surging or overlock stitches that those of you who are master sewers, I am obviously not, many of you could school me on that, I'm sure. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. This video will be a little shorter than the first one. And in the next video, I am going to take out the vacuum and we'll get some of this dust and grime out of here. And then I'm going to check the motor brushes, and we'll see. It's really not any different than checking motor brushes on any other sewing machine motor. This is a sewing machine, but it does something so different, and they are so different to me. It's an overlock machine. It does form stitches, but it's really a different animal, and that's why I was so curious after 10 years of avoiding it to go ahead and dive right in. So if you've never touched a vintage sewing machine before, if you've never worked on a Serger or anything, just unplug it. Just make sure she's not plugged in, and then see what you can find out. It's kind of interesting. I don't know if those of you who have newer Sergers, let me know if you see any of these access screws, or if as I suspect, it's usually sealed, right? It's for the lifetime of its use, whatever that means. We know how disposable most of the crap we buy today is. And I think that's one of the reasons I'm so drawn to older vintage machines, sewing machines, even the mixer I put up on my channel one day. It's just humbling to see the quality that was once there, and that prior generations of our ancestors were willing to pay. So maybe we'll get back to that one day. I don't know, but right now I'm going to focus on trying to get this old beast cleaned and oiled, and we'll see if she runs and see if she forms a stitch. I haven't even got to threading it yet, so that may try my patience, but nothing ventured, nothing gained. Thanks again for watching, everyone. I so appreciate you tuning into my channel. Stay tuned. And the saga of this 35-year-old Elna Serger continues. Bye for now.